Unbelievable news in the world of precious metals, creating for us an unprecedented historical environment for gold and silver. We're going to look at some crazy developments today. Shortages in the world of silver. Two top analysts calling for $100 silver, and not some far off date in the distance. We're talking very, very near term. Of course, we're going to address there's some people out there saying that we're in a bubble for silver. We'll talk about that. And of course, the major news story of the weekend, the major geopolitical development, but importantly, how that will affect the price of gold and silver in the short term and the long term. One thing we know for sure, it's a big honor when you join us down here in the basement. Thank you for being here. Your time is valuable. We honor you. Please subscribe to the channel, press that button, press the bell so you get notified every time we go live. And most importantly, enjoy your time down here in the basement. We want to dig in. We dig a little deeper because we're in a basement, right, into what's really going on in the world of gold and silver. Let's get started by talking about silver. And is there a silver shortage? Right? There's a lot of hysteria out there, a lot of news. Some people are saying there's a shortage of silver, shortage of silver. Let's dig in, and I'll give you my take on what's going on and some evidence, reasons, and examples, but also some analysis on why we want to keep a close eye on what is happening. So we're getting a lot of reports like this one right here. Came from Silver Trade, SD Bullion, JM Bullion, hold on one second, and APMEX are sold out of 1,000 ounce COMEX good delivery silver bars. That tells us something very, very interesting, guys. That's the big boys. Those are the big bars that are used on the big exchanges, right? To, supposedly, back up the paper make-believe contracts. Those apparently are now sold out at the big retailers. That tells us that this big physical demand, right? Not the paper demand, but the physical demand, and not so much on the retail side, although we're going to look at some interesting developments there, but on the large scale investment side, that physical is indeed under stress. I find this super, super interesting. Now, yesterday, I went to my local coin shop. Let's switch gears. Hold on one second here. There we are. Now we're back. Hey, good to see you again. I went to my local coin shop. It's a big local coin shop to see what things look like there. I didn't buy any silver, okay? I did buy 4 empty tubes for storage, whatever, but nonetheless, it was a very active environment. There was not a line out the door, okay, but I also hung around for 5 or 10 minutes. I heard one of the very experienced clerks, he's been there at least 20 years, the people that work, they've got like 40 people working at this coin shop, telling one of the customers that it's like, they're not wiped out. They had some inventory, but basically that they were under some pretty serious stress when it comes to their inventory of silver. So it's getting very interesting, but we want to talk about retail demand and why we're not going to be so super concerned, but we're seeing two things. I went out before I went live here. I went to all the big major bullion dealer websites, looked at 10-ounce bars, 1-ounce bars, coins, different things. We're not going to say everything's sold out, but a lot is, okay? There's a lot of things that are either not available or on pre-order, okay? But the other interesting thing that we're seeing, and now we're almost seeing this at all the major online bullion dealers, and those are the ones that's where we can get data from, is they're all talking about major shipping delays, 10 days, 15 days. Here's one that was shared with me. I want to show with you from TD. Hold on here. Yep. From Silver Ape King. Due to high demand, TD Precious Metals has increased their delivery delays by up to 25 business days. That's like 5 weeks, right? And here's the note right here. Please note, due to high demand, delivery timelines of 10 to 25 business days for precious metals orders may be delayed. As an alternative, they say you can go to one of our retail locations, but then it says down here at the very bottom, that is subject to availability. So what we are definitely seeing, let's recap what's going on right now in the physical market. The big bars appear to be gone in short supply, which indicates to us that the bigger players are sucking up all the silver. On the retail side, and then we're going to talk about how important retail is. We're definitely seeing stress in the market. Should we call it a scramble? I love that word. We won't say it's a squeeze, right? We know we've been in a squeeze. We won't necessarily say sold out, shortage, but absolutely confidently, I can say it's a scramble. And on top of that, we have the situation where we know there's a ton of activity because all the major online bullion dealers are warning customers that we have shipping delays. Physical demand is overtaking paper supply. It's as easy as that, guys. This next one, I think also tells us what is happening, right? I love it with technology, with the online bullion dealers and with other technology. They can't hide the fact that the world's going a little crazy over silver. All right, I'll do it. I know you want to hear it, the sheep noise, right? That the sheeple are waking up. You woke up a long time ago, but wait till you look at this next piece of data. And what does this tell us? This is great. Put a smile on your face, my fellow. By the way, well, I'll tell you this in a second. This was from Weimar Silver Baron. He says, I always tell you, searches on Google for buy silver are at an all-time high. Wait till you see this chart. Okay. This is the buy silver. You can see right here, search. You can go on like Google Analytics and look at this. And look at this, goes all the way back to 2011. There's 2000. Now, this is even more interesting. Oh, my gosh. Okay. In 2011, that was the previous high. Remember the cup and handle that we broke out of, right? This is 2011. This was what, 1980. Okay. That was how high the searches got. Okay. Now, wow. And then this right here was probably during C19. Remember when there was a silver craze that went on? But look at where we are now. Okay. Absolutely exploding. Now, do we really, this is something very important that we need to talk about. Do we really need to focus on retail, right? Because the reality is this, guys. The retail market traditionally does not set the price of silver. The retail market sets the price of premiums. Very important to understand. Premiums meaning if you go to your LCS, here's a beautiful 1 ounce silver round coin from First Mint, right? And you want to buy this in we'll go back in time. The silver price is only $50. But they're selling this for $55, you're paying a $5 premium over spot. If retail demand explodes, they might be selling these for $60. If it goes crazy, they might be selling them for $65, $15 over spot. Typically speaking, the retail demand had not set the price of silver. It was set by our good friends at the paper market, the COMEX. Is that all changing, right? We will see how this all plays out. We are certainly in a new paradigm, a new weather pattern, however you want to say it. The winds have shifted in the silver market where physical demand is overtaking the paper price. Okay, it's happening on a worldwide basis, and we're going to talk about how the major Venezuela geopolitical event, how I think it's going to impact the price of gold and silver in the short term and the long term. But the physical demand is overtaking the paper price. It's so critical for us to understand. So the retail demand could become more important in the overall pricing structure of silver as we move into, let's say, the next coming hours, months, quarters, and years. It's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about the $100, two analysts excuse me, are telling us that we could get $100 silver very soon. But when we talk about worldwide demand, do you wonder what's going on in China? At their retail market, their physical retail market? Let's just do a quick check-in on how things are in China. This is some very interesting footage. This came from David Lee. China has a 4-day holiday starting on the 1st through the 4th. People are back to the Shenzhen Shuibei gold market to shop before the Chinese New Year, which is in mid-February. And take a look at what's going on there. This came from TikTok. We'll get gold market in China. Let's I'll turn that music off. It looks pretty active. Actually, now that I'm looking at that, I would say that my local coin shop, which is a big local coin shop, no doubt, was not that crowded, but it was leaning in that direction, no doubt about it. Hey, it takes sponsors to make Ron's Basement possible. Today, this episode has a special sponsor. Excuse me, Argenta Silver. I'm going to show a quick video for you that I put together about Argenta Silver, and then I'll be right back to talk about this $100 two, not one, but two. Act now, and you get two analysts calling for $100 silver. The move we've seen in December 2025 in precious metals, especially silver, is one for the record books. It signals a new era like no other, and I'm kicking off 2026 by sharing an exciting opportunity with you. Gold just hit $4,500 for the very first time in history and was up over 70% in 2025. Gold has added nearly $13 trillion to its market cap in a single year. Silver has hit $75 per ounce, up 148% in 2025, and is now the world's third largest asset. The numbers speak for themselves. We are in the most enormous breakout in my favorite metal, silver. I'm about to share with you a very interesting pure play silver idea for the coming decade. I'm not beating around the bush. This is it. One highly respected billionaire mining tycoon has recently increased his position in one particular silver company that I'm very bullish on. On top of that, a prominent Argentinian businessman who had already invested millions in May of 2025 recently raised his personal stake once more by millions of dollars just a few months ago, which is the reason why I'm profiling this company to you right now. Here's the bottom line. This is a pure silver play happening in the midst of the best silver market ever. Frank Giustra, a mining billionaire, is a major shareholder, and only 1% of the land package has ever been drilled, and there's plenty of cash to drill even more right now. Together, both Frank Giustra and Eduardo Elstein, through his group of entities, own roughly a quarter of today's sponsor, Argenta Silver, ticker symbol AGAGF, and available on Interactive Brokers and Schwab. As you know, silver reached record prices in 2025. Argenta Silver, their shares surged by 188% in 2025, but the stock price has been down lately from its peak, so do your homework on this company now. There's three key reasons why I'm very interested in Argenta Silver. First, two highly successful businessmen with proven track records in mining have bought millions and tens of millions of shares. Both Frank Giustra and Argentinian real estate entrepreneur Eduardo Elstein are major shareholders of Argenta Silver. Secondly, valuation of the company. Here are the dry figures which tell the story. The previous owners of the El Quevar spent an estimated 60 million Canadian dollars on the project. They discovered the third largest pure silver deposit in Argentina, and they built a 100-person camp. Argenta purchased the El Quevar project for only $3.5 million in September 2024. The pure silver deposit contains silver resources of 45.3 million ounces at 482 grams per ton indicated and 4.1 million ounces at 417 grams per ton inferred. And remember, less than 1% of the project area has been explored. I cannot overstate the potential here. This is already the third largest undeveloped pure silver deposit in Argentina. Argenta Silver now has a significant cash position, roughly 18 million US dollars in working capital, and they are drilling as we speak. So results are imminent and will continue to come for the next few months, all in the context of this bull market in silver, which there's never been anything like before. Again, ticker symbol AGAGF. The flagship resource and project are situated in Argentina's top mining jurisdiction, the Salta province. That was the best voted jurisdiction of Latin America by the Fraser Institute for 2023. I'm excited about the prospects for Argenta Silver. Do your homework and don't forget the ticker symbol AGAGF. Thank you, Argenta Silver, for sponsoring this episode of Ron's Basement. And I want to remind you, I'm not a financial advisor. I talk a lot about buying gold, silver, precious metal mining stocks. Always do your own research and realize, right, be responsible. Mining stocks, any investment is risky. Let's take a look at some more data. We got a lot more to cover. Two analysts telling us $100 silver and possibly very, very soon. What about this talk of a bubble? And don't forget, we need to talk about the major event over the weekend with Venezuela and how I see that affecting the precious metals market as we move into the future. Let's go here first. We got a lot more to cover, guys. Here we go. We need to look at this chart. Don't forget, when we talk about silver and we talk about gold, foreign central banks now hold more gold than treasuries. I talked about this the other day. Several of you requested I get this chart back out. If we look at this, I mean, look, this is gold, obviously, the yellow line, and it goes all the way back to 1970, all the way through 2030 or today, which is the white part. This is from Tavi Costa and data from Bloomberg. But as you can see, gold holdings starting around 1980. Back then, this is how much gold central banks owned, and this was how much in U.S. Treasuries. From 1980 through about 1995, that went up, and then from 1995 all the way through today, the world central banks held more U.S. Treasuries, basically more U.S. dollars than they did gold. However, as you can see right here, in the present day, we just crossed over, which is a historic move. These types of moves don't fluctuate very, very much. Like, this is a big trend. I mean, look at this trend, unbelievable, actually, of gold going up, right, in U.S. Treasuries starting about 2018, 2020, going down. What that tells us is that the smartest people in the world, the most in the know financial minds in the world, the people running the world central banks, are moving towards gold and by default silver. There's some chatter out there and a little bit of proof that some of the central banks are starting to look at silver. But I think that could be something that we see more of in the future. $100 silver, right? Keith Neumeyer from First Majestic, what I think was coined that phrase, triple digit silver. Is it in the near term horizon? Look, nobody has a crystal ball, but we've got two people. We're going to start with our friend Rashad, who's been very, very, let me get back here. He's been very, very accurate as of late. And he says himself, right, not financial advice, but he points out some interesting things based on his analysis of the silver chart. He says, I think silver is about to start a new sprint higher to test $100 level and then pause. Well, would you be okay with that? I think we'd be okay. We got to $100 and then paused. The same way it paused around $50 before it continues higher. Silver price tripled in 2025 within 9 months. If it triples again in 2026, then the price would reach $200 plus. And here's the chart that he's developed, right, showing us kind of where we are right now in this zone. but how he foresees the price moving even higher and higher, and then up here into the above 200. So Rashad has had an uncanny ability to predict the silver price as of late, and he's talking about that happening sooner as opposed to later. But let's go out to Gary Savage and see what Gary's telling us, which is silver appears to be forming a bull flag consolidation. We'll look at that here on the chart in a second. Once the metals finish this minor profit taking event, probably sometime this coming week. Can we wait that long? I think silver will be set up to test $100 or at least pretty close to it over the next 1 to 2 months. $100 within the next 1 to 2 months. And this looks like a bull flag consolidation to me. The blue lines, right? A flag pattern, right? It's kind of like there's a pole, there's the flag, as you can see on the pattern. So that's the flag right here, right? And put whatever you want in there. We'll put an S for silver. That's the silver flag. That's what we see developing. The way these consolidation patterns and triangle patterns work is that eventually the price has to break out. Gary is calling it as a breakout to the positive. Look, when we talk about, and we'll do this next because I want to cover what Jesse Colombo is saying about the silver price right now. But when we look at all the fundamentals involved, it's overwhelming how optimistic we can be right now about the silver price. No other time in history that I've been following it for over 25 years could we be as optimistic as we are right now. And there's people out there saying it's a bubble, right? And look, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. But I don't think it's a bubble. But let's listen to what Jesse Colombo has to say, because he brings up a very simple yet very powerful point, and that is this. Okay, Jesse is one of the most widely followed analysts in the silver sector right now and gold. He said silver's recent surge has sparked claims of an unsustainable bubble, but those calling silver a bubble are misled by its nominal gains. And we're going to talk about that. That's very important. Unaware, it remains very cheap according to numerous metrics. And what he's basically saying is, right, the gains in the silver price. We'll look at this first, then we'll come back. This is the silver to Dow ratio. As you can see, indexed to 100. This goes back, hold on, guys. Let me get the dates on the bottom for you. I think if I pull this up, it's not as big, actually. Okay, anyway, it goes back. There's 1980 down here. You can see how high this ratio got. Okay, all right. There's the 2011 peak there, much higher, and this is where we are now. What he's basically saying is, like, if you compare the price of silver to the Dow, for instance, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is what, 45,000, somewhere in that area right now. Silver has a lot of catching up to do. If you compare the price of silver, right, to the M2 money supply, we looked at that yesterday, right? The dollar to silver ratio, the change in the M2 money supply versus the change in the number of ounces of silver mined on a worldwide basis, that's like at $1,000. There's a massive difference in the financial world between the word nominal, which basically just means number, right, and real, right? And guys, so when we're looking at the price increase of silver and say, oh, silver's gone up, so that's because we're kind of brainwashed into pricing silver in US dollars. But when you strip away and when you do some analysis on the actual numbers behind, when you compare the price of silver to the increase in the money supply, when you compare the price of silver to the Dow Jones, right? Like Jesse Colombo did. Really, right? I know it's hard. Like you hear people say $100 silver, $200 silver. Oh, that's crazy. No, it's kind of like we're trained. We have what's called recency bias. You have a bad case, and I have a bad case of recency bias. Well, maybe not us, but definitely those sheeple, and some people in the silver world that say, oh, silver can never get to 100. People said it. Guys, listen, here's a little secret for you, okay? a year ago when silver was at $30 and there were some people that were in their basement making YouTube videos saying silver could go to 50, silver could go to 60, $70. They would get heckled. They would get made fun of. Yeah, right? Because people just think in terms of these numbers. It's just a nominal number. Okay. The silver price can go astronomically high. I've said this all along. Silver could go to infinity and beyond. No doubt about it. And same with gold. Okay. Let me ask you a question. How much does silver cost in Confederate dollars? Right, that became more, and I'm not saying the dollar, and I don't want that to happen. I love my country. I don't like what they've done with a paper dollar since 1971 when President Nixon temporarily took us off the gold standard. But nonetheless, guys, the reality is paper money, it's been proven throughout history, every other time has become worthless. Fiat, right? FAIT. So to look at these numbers and say, well, silver could never get to 150 an ounce. That's, in my opinion, I don't want to use the F word, foolish, but I will, a little bit foolish, because silver couldn't just go to 150. It could go to 1,500, 3,000. It can go anywhere. All right, I digress. Woo, we got a lot more to talk about. The gold. Okay, here's another great example of history. The gold to silver ratio, which currently sits, I love this chart. This comes from Make Gold Great. There's a big message in this. Update. If I just showed you the top part of this chart, the gold to silver ratio on the 3rd of January, 2026, a massive drop from 104 in April just this last year, back in 2025. Isn't it hard to imagine 2025 now is referred to as last year? But look at the gold to silver ratio. The gold to silver ratio is going down, blah, blah. We're still above like long-term averages. That's the number of ounces of silver it takes you to get 1 ounce of gold. The higher the price of silver goes relative to gold, the lower the ratio goes. So, for example, if we were living in ancient Egypt, here, we'll just look at this one right here, 1000 BC. And it's kind of funny to think that we had relatives, you and I did have relatives alive during that time period. At that point in time, it took only 10 ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold. That meant that if that ratio were applied to today, the silver price would be at, yes, you guessed it, I picked an easy one for us, $440 per ounce, meaning it would only take 10 ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold. Throughout history, look at all these numbers, 1 to 15 in 2000 in Rome, 1 to 15 in Italy in the year 1300. But even as we get to more recent times, right, in the year 1500 in Germany, here, let's just circle that for fun, right? It was again 10 to 1, which again would mean a $440 silver price. Going all the way to today, this is the only time in history when the ratio is now 60 to 1. It takes, basically, I'm rounding up, 60 ounces of silver for you or I to trade for 1 ounce of gold. This number can go much lower. What if it goes to 20, right? If it goes to 20, we have silver over $200 per ounce. But wait, there's more, because when we consider a very important fact, and I mean fact, right, that back then, silver wasn't consumed like it is today. Today, silver's being consumed. Unless you're really brand new to the channel, right? Solar panels, electronics, microprocessors, AI data centers, electric cars, the list goes on, right? And nobody ever talks about the fact that it's antimicrobial. And I got another bonus fact about silver that I think is going to be, you mark my words, when we're down here in the basement 5 years from now, we're going to be smiling, because we're going to know, you're going to say, we talked about this in Ron's basement 5 years ago when nobody else was talking about it. I think it's one of the future massive demand sources for silver. Okay, it's getting crazy. By the way, this morning I was out and about, believe it or not, upstairs Susie let me out of the basement, and I ran into one of our fellow basement dwellers. This nice guy, very nicely dressed, came up to me and he said, "You're a lot taller in person than you are on camera." And I'm like, uh-oh. This guy must be a basement dweller. So I want to say hi to Bill, my local St. Louisan, and his lovely wife. He said, we watch you all the time. And I was like, well, that's awesome. But something very interesting. Number one, this guy, he was good looking and very well put together, right? It goes back to this. Remember, this is what Google told me, that yellow highlight right there about this channel. Your audience is highly sophisticated, okay? But then he said, you're a lot taller in person than you are on camera. And I was just waiting for him to also say, and better looking, but that never came out. So anyway, hi, Bill. Welcome to the basement, and hello to your wife as well. Where was I? Okay, the sleeper. And then we're going to talk about the Venezuela situation. The sleeper factor, and I won't spend too much time on this. I know people have different opinions on crypto. People have different opinions on gold and silver, no doubt. But there's a factor that I think will become one of the biggest sources of demand for physical silver, and it already is for gold, and that is as gold and silver are tokenized in the future. Tokenized and backed 100% by real physical metal in real vaults. There's a great example of that going on right now. The company Tether has tokenized gold. It's called XAUT. Look, I'm not making investment advice, giving anything like that, but the XAU, it's tokenized gold. Each one token on the blockchain is backed by 1 real ounce of gold in a vault in Switzerland. And there's big benefits to this, right? People, you can take their gold wherever they want in the world. You can trade fractional amounts. You can trade it 24 hours a day. The spreads between the buy and sell are like minuscule compared to going to those local coin shops, right? Take an ounce of silver, take an ounce of gold to your local coin shop, and the price they're going to pay you for it is much less than what they're going to resell it for. You know, that's called the spread. So as we move into the future, I'm not saying that you need to buy tokenized gold. I'm not telling you to buy the ETF, the SLV ETF. People have differing opinions on that. That's great. But the SLV ETF did significantly increase demand for physical silver. And the same thing is going to happen with tokenized gold and tokenized silver. Tether, the company Tether that has the tokenized gold, they were outside of central banks. I forget, was it over the last month or the last year? They were the biggest buyer of physical gold, okay? Just behind the world central banks. And I believe the same thing is going to happen with silver, right? And it could create a massive wave. That doesn't mean you have to buy it or buy that's fine. Everybody's different, right? If you don't hold it, you don't own it. But I'm just saying 5 years from now, when we're down here, I firmly believe that we're going to be looking at that. Let's talk about what's going on in the geopolitical world with what happened over the weekend with Venezuela. As you know, I'm not a political channel. I'm not making statements pro or con or support or against anything. I'm just reporting what happened. And I think there's two critical things. Number one, tonight's open in the short term in the silver and gold market, I would expect fireworks. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I think it's about 50-50 that when the market opens, we're going to see a big move up or possibly a big move down. Don't get mad at me. And that's okay if that happens, because I've got good news. And that is over the long term. What the facts of what transpired over the weekend, I think are going to be very, very supportive for the gold price and the silver price as well. And there's a couple reasons why. I think it's a similar situation with the United States making a bold move of actually taking over a country. It's kind of similar to what happened with the Russia-Ukraine situation, but more from a perspective of when the Russia-Ukraine situation happened, the West seized a lot of the Russian assets. Look, China, Russia, they're not happy about what went on in Venezuela. It's a big source of oil. You can read all into that, all that you want. But I think what happened was with Ukraine, Russia, when we seized those assets, people stopped, some countries, some around the world got scared and said, if the United States in the West can just seize stuff from us, we don't, they lost some comfort, let's say, in storing some of their central bank assets, as the chart we looked at earlier showed us, in cash in U.S. Treasuries. So I think this is going to further divide the world, unfortunately. I'm in favor of world peace, But the reality of the facts of the matter is this will further divide the world, and I think provide a very, very supportive environment, continue to provide a supportive environment for the precious metals. Other people are even saying, and I don't like violent, but they're saying like now that the United States did this with Venezuela, maybe China will feel emboldened to go into Taiwan. That's a tinderbox situation. And maybe Russia will feel even more emboldened with their situation in Ukraine. All that aside, unfortunately, look, we just look at the facts. The world is becoming more and more at odds with each other. The West versus the East. We know that in the precious metals markets, the East happens to be kind of exerting a lot of authority in the precious metals markets. And I think that what we're going to see as this all plays out, right, is that it's going to be 2, 5, 10 years from now, continue to be a very supportive factor. Again, just reporting the facts for the price of the precious metals. And when you take a step back and look at these other fundamental reasons why we can be so excited about silver in particular, and we love gold, no doubt, and we're super excited about it. I think the future looks very bright. I want to say thank you again for joining me today. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Take care, okay? It's going to be a crazy, fun ride together. I appreciate you, and I'll see you, yes, you, next time.